Hey trainers, welcome back to Trainer TV. My name is Professor Chris, and welcome to the first episode of Saturday Morning Strategy. This week, the first thing we're starting off with is the top 10 tips for how to build a competitive Pokemon TCG deck. It's something that Aaron has seen suggested multiple times in the comments section. You guys have been very vocal about what you want. You want to learn how to build competitive decks. So these top 10 tips are based on my knowledge of what I think should go into a competitive deck. Tip number 10, starting at the bottom, is know what card sets are legal in the standard format. As of today, the current format is black and white, boundaries crossed, all the way through X and Y Roaring Skies, and any other kind of decks or promos that they've put out since then. I believe it's black and white promo 51 and up for the promo cards right now. You have to know this stuff because if you show up to a tournament with a bunch of old cards, they're going to turn you away or make you edit your deck with a bunch of basic energy, and that's not going to be what you want to see. Number 9, know the current errata and the bans on cards within your format. Nothing is worse than playing down a Pokemon catcher only to find out that all of a sudden you have to flip a coin to see if it works or not. There are certain cards such as Pokemon Catcher and Rare Candy that have changed their wording and the rulings on them. And because of that, you have to know how to play these cards so you're not surprised when you come into a competitive format. As far as bans on cards go, as you saw in a previous video, Lysander's Trump card just got banned. As of the middle of this month, you can't play that in a competitive deck anymore. You have to learn and adjust for these changes in order to have your deck be in the standard format. That information can be found on the official Pokemon website. Tip number 8, know your competition. With the many decks out there that are currently running, such as Seismitoad, Rayquaza, there's countless different decks you could run into. Go to your local leagues, go to your local tournaments, find out what people are playing, and learn the kind of cards that you're going to have to go up against so you can build your deck to counter those. Tip number 7, now that you know what kind of competition and cards that you're going to have to be dealing with, decide on your play style. Your play style means whether you like to play slow and steady, slowly whittling down your opponent through status conditions like poison or confusion, things like that, denying them energy with different types of supporters and trainers, or whether you play fast and whether you play heavy, where all you want to do is knock out every Pokemon in your path with one hit, and that's all it takes. Decide on your play style, and once you have that down, you'll have an easier time choosing cards to go into your deck. Tip number 6, once you've decided on your play style, choose just a few main Pokemon to go into your deck. You don't need half of your deck to be Pokemon. That's an easy mistake that a lot of beginners make, because the theme decks that come out in Pokemon have mostly Pokemon and mostly energy and very, very little trainers. Only decide on a few main Pokemon, and the rest of the Pokemon should be set around supporting that main one. Tip number 5, trainer cards, trainer cards, trainer cards. I can't say that enough. Trainer cards are the meat of any deck that goes into competitive building. Many of the decks that you see taking first place in tournaments today have 30 or 40 trainer cards in them with very minimal Pokemon and energy. The reason for this is trainer cards are what you use to slow down your opponent, speed up your own Pokemon, add to the damage of your Pokemon, add to the defense of your Pokemon, or help you get a new hand, refresh your hand, or slow down your opponent's hand by playing cards like N late in the game. Trainer cards are what allow you to control the game and get ahead and make sure that your opponent stays behind. Tip number 4, focus your deck on doing one thing and do it very, very well. Being a jack of all trades seems to hurt you more than help you as far as the Pokemon TCG goes. It's better to risk fine-tuning your deck to do just one thing well and risk a bad matchup against that deck than have a jack of all trades that's weak against most decks and strong against some decks It's better to have one that steamrolls most decks and might have a couple bad matchups. Tip number 3, use cards that have synergy. Synergy meaning they work together really well. If you're putting together a deck of, say, fighting type Pokemon, you're going to want to make sure to get stadiums like the Fighting Stadium, or energy like Strong Energy, or maybe a line of Machamp that have the ability to increase damage of fighting type Pokemon's attacks. Any card that's out there, there's usually a good card that can help it accomplish its goal somewhere along the way. Make sure to find these types of cards and put them into your deck so that all your cards are working together and not for their own separate goals. Tip number 2, we're getting so close to the end. Tip number 2 is know the purpose for every single card in your deck. I know what you're thinking. Professor Chris, 60 cards? I'm supposed to have a reason that I put each and every single one of those into your deck? Absolutely. Absolutely. I had to. All joking aside, the top players in these tournaments, you never hear them say things like, I didn't know what to put in for my last 5 cards, so I just threw in some enhanced hammers and basic energy. No, these people have tried and true decks. There's a reason for every single card in their decks, and that reason has to go towards the main goal of your focused deck. And the final tip, tip number 1, playtest until the cows come home. Seriously, there's nothing better for fine-tuning a deck and figuring out how your deck works than playtesting. Make sure to get involved in your local leagues. You can even go as far as to playtest at league challenges or small-time tournaments. A personal way that I playtest is I get together with Aaron. Him and I pit our decks against each other, and at the end of each match, we lay all of our cards out and ask each other, what did I do wrong and how can I do better? We make several changes to our cards and play another match. At the end of that match, we lay all of our cards out again. It's a time-consuming process, but nothing is better than hands-on and true and tried, practice makes perfect. Thank you guys so much for watching the first episode of Saturday Morning Strategy and the top 10 tips for how to build a competitive Pokemon TCG deck. If any of these tips helped you, or if you have any kind of questions that you want to see addressed in a further video, leave a comment down below. We're going to be making these videos fairly often, so make sure to tune in on Saturdays, and be sure to like this video and subscribe. And remember, trainers, train on. Yeah.